All right, we're talking UFC Kansas City, Missouri, Machado versus Prates. Personally, I'm super excited about this one. Um, the card in general is not necessarily the most stacked, but main card definitely has some fun matchups. I'm gonna go over not every single fight, just because there's a couple cans on this card. Not gonna sugarcoat it. Which is kind of fitting for having it in a fucking dump of a place like Missouri. But, anyways, we'll get right to it. Starting off the card hot, hot, hot in Missouri. Gotta love when they start a card with an absolute banger of a women's fight. So basically, we have a 30-minute bathroom break. This fight starts, let's see, prelims start at 6 p.m. Eastern, so we don't need to be on the couch till probably 6:30, 7 o'clock till the second fight starts. But I'm not even sure if this has got to be her UFC debut. I've never seen her before. Holy shit. She had, what, 4 wins pro before she went to the UFC? 2-2 in the UFC, beat Stolyarenko. Yeah. I mean, this is just gonna be a boring fight, I'm sure. Although, if I remember correctly, Jocelyn Edwards actually has some pretty crisp boxing. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're, again, absolute probably snoozer. Nothing really much to talk about there. We got two pretty young prospects. This homie looks scary as shit. So he's second fight in his UFC career. Lost his first one to David Onama, who's also fighting on this card. We'll get to that later. But Onama's not a scrub by any means. I mean, especially if that's your UFC debut. Young kid, he was probably 24 at the time. Onama's not a very easy first fight in the UFC, so nice. And then we got this scrub who's one loss away from his contract being cut, I'm sure. So he's 0-2 in his first two UFC fights against, I mean, Lucas Almeida. I mean, he's not a scrub by any means. Like that's a pretty legit, very unorthodox striker. Um, so I mean, he's 0-2, but his last fight was definitely against a pretty decent opponent. But both of these guys desperately need to win this fight. Um, Timmy, my boy Timmy, got to win this fight, or you're getting cut, and then having to work your way back. I mean, he's 26, so I mean, it's not the end of the world if he gets cut now. He could probably work his way back, but my boy needs a win desperately. And then we have another absolute banger to start the card. Women's strawweight. Nothing to talk about. I'm looking forward to this one. Cameron Simon came in pretty highly touted, and he came in and had a couple really nice wins right off the bat, and he's kind of hit a skid lately. But I mean, he came in, hit a 4 fight win streak right out of the gate. Had some pretty impressive. Holy shit! I had a stroke. Performances. Um, Terrence Mitchell was his last win almost 2 years ago. So it's been a while since this kid's had a W. Peyton Talbot, that was a great fight. I mean, he got battered, but the Peyton Talbot was up until his last fight, he was on a rocket ship. I mean, he had a lot of momentum. He's obviously got a lot of skill, but these are two kind of tough opponents that he lost to. I think this is going to be a super fun fight. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one a lot. Odds are pretty even too. I'm pretty sure this is only Malkin's second fight. Yeah, it's his UFC debut ever since his win on Dana White's Contender Series, which was a fun fight to watch. I mean, this kid's super explosive. He's obviously gonna be a lot stronger, in my opinion, than Cameron Simon. Simon's kind of a dorky looking kid, not a ton of muscle on him. Malcolm looks very athletic, very explosive, a lot of power. He's not. I mean, he's not going the decision. I don't think in this fight. I think this fight's gonna be an absolute banger. Yeah, this guy has what, two decisions in his whole career, 8 fights. It's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be entertaining. Another fun fight, Damon Blackshear, um, Ala Tengali. What is up with these motherfuckers and one word names? One fought this last weekend too, Sumaderji or something. I feel like that's about as scary as getting matched up against a Dagestani guy. It's like you get that call and their last name's Nurmagomedov. You're like, fuck. Same thing with these guys with one name. Some scary cats. Um, let's see. So he's been in the UFC for you know going on 6 years now. Nothing really to write home about. Chad Anheliger. I mean, that's really like the only name that I even recognize. Chris Gutierrez, he's a great striker. Um, Not surprising that he lost that fight, but the rest of these guys, I mean, I couldn't tell you who they are. And honestly, I've been watching UFC for 5+ years now, religiously every single weekend, and I'll be the first to admit that my memory is not the best, but I do not remember this cat. Um, but I do know Damon Blackshear tends to bring a pretty decent pace to the fight. Um, if I remember correctly, his last few fights have been pretty entertaining. Lost to Mario Bautista, beat Cody Stamen, excuse me. Yeah, this card again, it's not super stacked. I mean, they're getting those obligatory 3 fights on people's contracts out of the way. Um, Here's another one that, this guy, Ahmed, is coming off of his Dana White Contender Series fight. I'm almost positive. Yep. But here's the good thing is that historically, people that come out of the Contender Series are savages. Some of the best fighters in any of the divisions have come out of Dana White Contender Series. Multiple champions. So it's always nice to see like when people from outside the organization come in on a UFC debut. You're like, I don't know what kind of guy how they're gonna do under this pressure, but I think the pressure on Dana White Contender Series on those Tuesday night fights are higher than a lot of just like normal like prelim card fights. Like you're fighting for your livelihood, and so he's already gotten a little taste. I feel like those Dana White Contender Series fights that get contracts awarded. Those are super high stakes fights. They may not be for championships, and they might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but that's a lot of pressure. So I'm hopeful that these Dana White Contender Series debutantes come in and are able to handle the moment of their UFC debut. But this should be another fun fight. Even if I don't know who someone is and they're coming from Dana White Contender Series, high hopes. High hopes. Other than Usman's brother. Just had to throw that in there. All right, Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Matt Schnell is, his chin's going. Honestly, he's had a rough skid the last couple fights. Cody Durden, Steve Erceg. Obviously, Steve Erceg is very high level. Matthias Nicolau is also, no scrub. So he's had some pretty. Here he is, Sumaderji. These one name motherfuckers. And look, scary cat. Not so scary though. Who knows? Maybe this other one name guy is gonna be different. But Matt Schnell is his chin's been tested the last few fights, and it honestly looks like and not talking shit on Steve Erceg, but Steve Erceg isn't necessarily the most powerful striker in the division. But he got touched by Nicolau and Erceg, and he kind of crumbled. Those are the type of knockouts that when I see them, I'm like, that chin's starting to go. It is. He's still a minus 320 on the money line, though. Jimmy Flick, not really having a great last couple fights either. I mean, this fight card truly is just a bunch of make it or break it fights. 95% of the fighters, except for the two coming off Dana White's Contender Series, 95% of these fighters are fighting to stay in the UFC. Like 1 in 3 in his last 4 fights. Like, my boy Jimmy is probably on the way out. He looks like he's seen some things. 34 years old. Looks like he's 50. Now, obviously, some of these guys on the main card are not in the same boat as everyone that we just went over. I mean, a lot of these guys, yes. My boy Timmy especially needs to get a win desperately. So a lot of the early card or early prelims before we get to the main card, like these fights have some stakes. We might see some sleeper really good fights because there's a lot on the line for a lot of these fighters. They're staring down the barrel of Dana White telling them to go get fucked. So if they don't want to end up in bare knuckle boxing, they're gonna try and put on a show in Kansas City. All right, moving on to the main card. Ikram Aliskerov. So this is gonna be a fun fight, but I don't know if y'all remember that Ikram's last fight was against. Let's see. Robert Whitaker, Worley Alves, Phil Hawes, Mario Souza. I mean, he went on a fat win streak. And only when he got to Bobby Knuckles, the bad motherfucker, the Reaper, is like, that's the only person to beat him in the last 6 years. That's a lot of confidence, That's already a scary person to fight in general because he comes from the mountains, Like I said earlier, you're fighting one of those Dagestani guys. You're fuck. Better get up on my wrestling. So I mean, he's confident. I'm sure he wants to get back in the win column very badly. He's an absolute just mammoth of a favorite on this money line. It's crazy. I will never understand, and I'll take advantage of them all day long. I mean, shit, if they're going to be crazy enough to put money lines out like this, I'll surely surely oblige and put in an absolute crazy parlay. But for fighting, I just never understand any odds over like 2 to 1, 3 to 1. Unless it's like a champion that's just on a fucking tear. Like when I see almost 1,000 like odds, it's like it's a fight and literally anything can happen. Chris Weidman, perfect example, knocked out Anderson Silva. Literally anything can happen. I could give 1,000 more examples, but my point being, it's fucking crazy to me that matchmaker or that the books will put lines out like that. Obviously, they know dumbasses like me can't resist it, and they're gonna hop on those odds. But Andre Muniz is no scrub. Real gritty, real gritty. I mean, that's a resume right there. In his like since 2021, I mean, Uriah Hall, Brendan Allen, Paul Craig, Jun Young Park, the total. So that could be a fun fight. It's crazy to me that someone that's only had 2 losses in the last fucking 10 fights is almost plus 500, but it just goes to speak of what the books think of Ikram's skill. He's a real talented kickboxer, real talented. Um, I mean, he's an absolute threat, but minus 750, it's a little crazy to me. A little crazy. Moving on, Randy Brown and Nicholas Dalby. This is also a fun fight. I'm a big fan of Randy Brown. I don't know how the fuck he makes 170. That's like Alex Pereira. How did he make 170 or 185? Like, absolutely blows my mind. How guys like this that are 6'3" and absolutely shredded are able to make 170. But his last loss was to Brian Battle. Brian Battle's been ever since his UFC debut after Tough. I mean, he's been a motherfucker. I'm pretty sure he lost his last fight though. Oh, that was the last fight. Damn, so he hasn't fought in 5 months. Hmm. Beat Muslim Salikov. That's a hard fight. Lost to Jack Della Maddalena. That's on par. Jack's about to fight for the title. That's gonna be a fun fight. But real fun striker. I'm these odds are definitely a lot more accurate in my opinion. But Nicholas Dalby, he's a he kind of reminds me of like a less psychopathic Fazeev. You kind of see it here, just a little bit in the face, but kind of the style too. Um, Tight Muay Thai kind of stance, but that's going to be a hard reach to get to one mitigate and two to find your distance to find your shots. I mean, he's 6'3", he's 5'11". I'd imagine that he's working with a pretty substantial reach. Yeah, fucking 3.5 inch reach advantage. Three inches is no joke. Especially when you have a sniper like Randy Brown that can just throw a 1-2 down the pipe before you even fucking blink. And you're on the end of his punches, and that's that. Moving on. Honestly, this main card's got some fun fights, truly. I mean, starting it off with the Ikram fight and Randy Brown, and then, I mean, anytime Michel Pereira gets in the cage, he's going to do something illegal, and it's 100% not going to get flagged by the ref. He will do a backflip, land on your face on a grounded opponent, and just keep going. I mean, he's one of the craziest motherfuckers that's ever stepped in the octagon, dancing and shit. Um, such a goofball, but fun to fight nonetheless, or fun to watch nonetheless. Um, we got Mr. Magomedov. You know, I hate to say it, but this one could end up being a little bit less of a striking match than I initially anticipated, or that I think maybe a lot of us are anticipating. Um, Magomedov has wrestling and submission skills to lean back on if he needs to, and Michel Pereira tends to put a really crazy pace on people and get in their face. So if Magomedov isn't able to mitigate that pressure early on, I could 100% see him changing up his game plan and wrestling a little more, trying to put Pereira on his back. If he's smart, he's going to be chopping that leg of Pereira, trying to take some power out of his shots. But I would not be surprised if we see this fight turn into more of a up against the cage, kind of in close, dirty boxing. Just depending on the type of pressure that Michel comes out with. All right. Um, this one's probably my favorite just because I love the fact that everyone fucking clowns on David Onama. Like skill wise, he's super good. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's on a tear since he's been in the UFC. Yeah, I mean, he's only lost two since he's been in the UFC. 5-2 in his last seven. So came into the UFC undefeated. Had a big reality check and slice of humble pie as soon as he got to the big show. But you know, that's a losing to Nate Landwehr is like losing to Darren Elkins, truthfully. So that's kind of sad that he lost to Nate Landwehr, to be real. But everyone else, I mean, Jonathan Pierce is a tough fight. Roberto Romero. So it's not like he's like really fought anyone of high skill yet. Giga's definitely a huge step up in competition for him. But honestly, I just want to see him get knocked the fuck out just because of the celebration on his last KO win against, I think it was this. Who was it that he did that to? Was it this guy? I honestly can't remember. But he copied Izzy's. I swear I'm not tripping here. I'm gonna find this shit. Let's see. We're gonna go. Can't fucking type. Yeah. 2023. Holy shit. It's been a long time. But yeah, like everyone clowns on him for a good reason. I mean, Izzy and Alex Pereira was one of the craziest storylines that you could make up in fighting. And when Izzy knocked him out after their first fight and did his celebration, it was one of the most badass celebrations in all of MMA. And then this fucking clown beats a scrub and thinks that he's like Israel reincarnated. Like, look, he shot like fucking 4 arrows. What are you doing? Pink. You know what would have been really cool if he just walked the fuck away. Just walk off. Give him a couple juicers and then just walk away. Instead, you had to be a clown and copy one of the greatest fighters in our time. So, just for that alone, I hope Giga throws a high kick and just fucking knocks him out cold. And I'm pretty sure Giga's on a 2-fight losing streak. No, he's 1-2, or he's 2-1 in his last. Sorry, 1-2 in his last 3. But I mean, those are all like his last 5 fights have been super good opponents. I mean, Cub Swanson, not an easy fight. Edson Barbosa, not an easy fight. KO'd him like in the 3rd round after a war. Lost to Calvin Kattar. I can't remember if this was before or after Calvin Kattar got just exposed by Holloway. That was 2021, so it was after. So Giga lost to Calvin after he had been beaten relentlessly by Holloway. But to be fair, it's not like Kattar really changed much. Like I think a lot of us were watching that fight, Max Holloway versus Calvin, and being like, "Holy shit, Calvin is like we're watching this guy get CTE right in front of our eyes." So I think it was surprising for a lot of people that he came back after that fight and still had a pretty good chin. He's been rocked in some of his fights since then, so I guess they're made different up north. And then Alex Caceres, he's a problem in of its own. He's a kind of a awkward dude. And then Arnold Allen, I mean, dog, gonna be fighting for the title for sure in the next couple years. So this is a fun fight. I truly hope that Giga knocks him out. I think there's a good chance that it happens. But moving on. I'm tired of seeing his name, to be honest with you guys. Like, and what's sad is that he keeps pulling these wins out of his ass. And just when you think this is the last of Anthony Smith that we've seen and the last of his terrible tattoos that we've seen, he fucking shows up again and squeaks in the Kansas City, Missouri card. Like, dude, he has more losses than like some people have fights in general. And next to Michael Chandler, Anthony Smith has some of the most just retarded decision making I've ever seen in my life in fights. Who was it that he jumped a guillotine on that was just not there and just ended up getting smacked? I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I mean, like he obviously went on tears when he like was younger and had got to the UFC. When he first got in the UFC, he did pretty good. I mean, his only loss was against Thiago Santos, who at the time was a force to be reckoned with before he kind of fell off, and then John Jones. And most of the individuals and fighters he's lost to, like, they're not scrubs by any means, but just weird. Just kind of tired of seeing him talking about my family. Ryan Spann was like, what the fuck? And then we got Zhang Ming Yang. 3rd fight in the UFC. Fought some kind of no names. So he was a part of that road to UFC Asia thing, I guess, that Dana was talking about. So this is kind of a weird fight to me, to be honest with you. You got Anthony Smith, who shouldn't even be fighting anymore, fighting a pretty much brand new UFC prospect. Kind of odd. Like I understand the gatekeeping, like passing of the guard, how like Jim Miller and Chase Hooper just fought, and if Jim Miller would have gate kept him, it would have been crazy. And but what happened was supposed to happen. Chase Hooper is the young up and comer. He's still developing skills. He did what he needed to against Jim Miller. Hard to say that Anthony Smith is much of a gatekeeper like Jim Miller would kind of be, but those are some big boys, 6'2", 6'4". Can't really speak much to it because I've never really seen Zhang fight, or if I have, I don't remember it. But that's just gonna be a classic Anthony Smith fight, I'm sure. Chopping the legs, sitting behind his guard, getting popped with jabs, head on the center line, not moving. It's the same old story with him. And then we got the main event. It's gonna be a fun one. Truly. Obviously, fighting nerds are riding a wave that is crazy right now. Rufy, Gene Silva, Caio Bahaio, this fucker, Carlos. They're feeling good in that gym. They got a lot of momentum. Prates has been on a tear. Obviously, Machado's been on a tear too. Like, I mean, it's been a long time since Carlos Prates has lost. 6 years. And he's on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC. Tough fight against the Leech. Tough fight against well, not tough fight, but a rather game opponent in Neil Magny. Like, this is a perfect fight to me. And what I love about both of these guys is Ian Machado, Gary, and Prates. Apart from his fight against Shavkat, which everyone gained a lot more respect for Machado, Gary, after that fight, obviously, because no one wants to fight Shavkat, and Gary had a lot of good moments in that fight, and showed that he can hang for sure. But I think this is a stellar fight. Like, these two are both in a really good spot. I mean, let's see. Let's see what the welterweight division's looking like right now. So realistically, either one of these guys wins. If Prates wins, Shavkat would be a fun fight, but Shavkat's probably next in line for Bilal, right? Ian Machado versus Leon Edwards. That's a cool fight. Maybe Prates versus Leon Edwards. Kamaru Usman. Does he have a fight booked anytime soon? I can't remember if Usman. I don't think he's got any fights booked soon. But Jack Della Maddalena and Bilal are obviously the next fight at welterweight, but Shavkat is going to be next after that. No doubt about it. I mean, he should have been the last one to fight for it, but whatever. But Prates has an opportunity to move, halfway up the rankings. Like, this is a big fight for Prates, and honestly, props to Gary for taking this fight down in the rankings. I mean, not saying that like people would have turned this fight down, but when you're climbing the rankings, typically you want to fight someone that's ahead of you in the rankings, not behind you, because if you lose, then you just move back. So I think it shows just how game Gary is. He's like, I don't give a fuck who I'm fighting. Put him in front of me. He doesn't care. He's like, I don't care if I'm fighting behind. I'll do whatever I need to do to get to the title. And that is the mindset that the fighter should have, not Gene Silva calling out on Twitter for a title shot after a win after on Bryce Mitchell, a washed Bryce Mitchell, or a Bryce Mitchell that doesn't really take his training seriously. Hot take, I don't think Bryce Mitchell even sniffs the rankings again until he makes a serious change in his camps. Those country boy Arkansas camps aren't making it anymore. I know he's training with like AJ Cunningham. He might be getting some looks from some like regional guys there in Arkansas, but I don't think he's really getting those high level looks that elite fighters are seeing in camps like AKA and Team Alpha Male and Top Team and the Lab. Like, there's a absolute roster of pros in all of those gyms, and they're getting those really elite looks. And Bryce is over there just throwing hay bales and milking his cows and chopping his firewood and grappling with his buddy AJ every now and then. So at least that's what it seems. I obviously have a lot of respect for Bryce. I think he has a ton of potential. He's a fun fighter, but we've just, I think, all seen that he is not strong enough in this division. He's been manhandled, and he looks so ridiculous next to the people that he's fighting. Like just in his last couple fights, Josh Emmett and Gene Silva, they didn't even look like they were in the same weight class as Bryce. Bryce looked like he just got off the couch from eating Twinkies for 6 months. Like not a muscle on his body. He's country boy strong, that I'm sure of, but I just don't think that we see anything good coming out of Bryce Mitchell until he fixes some things, changes things up, which he may never do. It's a shame, but all right. UFC Fight Night, Machado versus Prates. Got it going down next weekend. We'll do a couple more videos on some specific fights, and we'll cover it a little more closely come next week. But if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe. We'll be back.